Welcome. I'm Alex, and I work for Hyli, the lean blockchain for provable applications. On this podcast, we talk about cool applications that leverage cryptography in general and zero knowledge technology in particular, with a new guest every episode. Our guest today, Matteo, is an independent applied cryptography developer. He is also Hyli's first grantee, having built a play-by-email provable game engine using zkEmail and RISC-0 for proving, and Hyli for verifying and settling the proofs. This was a fantastic first episode, with conversations including why zkEmail is so cool, what Matteo is most excited about in cryptography, and having annoying friends who lie about beating you at chess.
Hey, cool. I'm very happy to be here. It was very fun to work on the project, actually.
Do you want to talk about the project to begin with?
Yeah, the idea, as you said, was from Sylv, the CEO, whose idea was you could play chess via email, and using zkEmail, which is a library that enables to create proof that you receive a certain email. You could prove that you won a game, basically, of email, which would allow for like uh, more peer-to-peer, or at least you cannot cheat with that system. This is the main idea of the project. So you could have two people playing together, and at the end they have a verifiable game that one of them won or lost. So that's the main idea. And then on top of that, when I was talking with Sylv, I was like, it's a good idea, but we could just abstract the ZK email and RISC-0 part and just like having a game engine for any play by email, play by mail game. Probably even D&D could be played here. Like from checkers, battleships, anything which is two players could be played there. I just built the ZK chess example, but anything that's playable by mail can be implemented. Actually, not even games, like anything actually, but because it's like super abstracted. So you could even
So, any
use,
email exchange.
yeah, because it's a server. Like the library is just a mail server that when it receives the mail, ask to the dev, okay, what do I do with this mail now? This is the idea of the whole library. Like, okay, I received this mail. Should I prove something? Yes, no. Okay, I don't have to prove anything. Okay, let's just ignore it. Do I have to prove something? Okay, I'll compute the proof now. This is the idea of the library. Just trying to put like an abstract layer to make it easier
Mhm.
to verify it on ID and prove with RISC-0 and TKML.
Okay, that's cool. And how would that server know when it should create a proof or not? And is
Uh,
that specific to each game?
Yeah, this is the idea.
Okay.
It's a library, and you can just it's like plug and play, and like the library has like one function that says process email, and if you return basically true, it will like prove, and if you return false, it won't do anything. Like the process
Okay.
email, you do whatever you want inside because you implement it when you implement the game.
So the idea is you have this library which can be used for any play by email game or system, but
Yeah,
let's keep it to games for now.
yeah,
And then it's not peer to peer, as in you will be sending each other emails to play, but the result will be measured by a centralized server. But as you said, the server cannot cheat.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that
This
correct?
this is the idea. The only downside, like the server could like censor. This is the thing. Like
Hmm.
it could say like if we play a game together and you are the server, you could just not send the proof to Hyli. You could just even if I won, this is what you could do. This is the downside. Uh, it's like there is like way to mitigate this, but it's like that's not in the scope of the
Mm.
project. For UX, it's better to have a server that you can just CC the mails to instead of proving everything locally. And like because you could in theory do everything peer to peer, but it's just much better to like CC to a ref and then it does the proving, which is like expensive on the server side instead of locally. It's just like nicer to do it this way. You could do it in peer-to-peer. Not exactly, because you still have Gmail's server.
And
So in
mail
the end,
server to mail server.
yeah.
What am I forgetting about this introduction to zkChess?
Mm, oh yeah, the fact that we use two different, like it's a bit more technical, but we use two different proof system, as I said earlier, Risk Zero and zkEmail, which are like two very known way to create proof, let's say. Um, and I think this is like super powerful because zkEmail is like super robust. It's like been audited by many audit companies. It's like there is like zkP2P that works on top of it. Like this is solid stuff. So you want to use zkEmail because you trust the devs, let's say.
Yeah.
Um, and the problem is zkEmail, you use Circom, which is like a pain to write stuff inside. Like it's Circum is a pain compared to Risk Zero, which is much easier. And for the chess engine, for example, I didn't wrote the chess engine. Like I don't have to, like I didn't have to do it. I just used the Rust library and just imported it in my Rust code and verified that the
Yeah.
move was valid. And then, okay, the chess engine was done. And then I could prove it with Risk Zero. Risk Zero is something that transforms Rust code to zero knowledge proofs. And then using Hyli, you can combine the two proofs using like proof composition to make sure that the two proofs are actually linked together and basically having one settlement that you have the two proofs valid with the same inputs and we're all happy and we won the game. And yeah, that's the idea. You can do proof composability. Like you could verify, like in theory, you could verify the Circum proof inside the Risk Zero proof. Like this is the
Mhm.
like you could write the verifier inside, but it would be super expensive.
Okay.
Zero knowledge proof is like you want to do the least thing possible inside your proofs in general, because it's like proving time will be much bigger, etc. So you just instead of verifying it inside the proof and doing recursion, basically, you just verify it on Hylé, and instead of I don't know putting layers and layers and layers on top of each other, like this proof verifies this proof that verifies this proof, etc. You just put
Yeah.
okay, I have two proofs and I combine them into with Hylé or horizontal. I don't know if it makes sense. It's super expensive to do the math of the proof system B in the proof system A. Like it's super expensive to compute the verification of Risk Zero inside zkEmail circuits. It's super expensive to compute the zkEmail verification inside Risk Zero because it's not the same kind of math. We don't use the same fields exactly. It's a bit of thing, but it's like we don't use the same math, so it's like we have to do what's called foreign field arithmetic, which is expensive to do.
It sounds complicated.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is. It's just I don't know if it's complicated because like we do it a lot, but it's just if we can avoid it, we are very happy because it's more about you could maybe 10x the time of the proof or something like this just to do the verification. I don't know. I'm putting numbers randomly. Maybe it's 100x. I don't know. Maybe it's too much. With Hylé, you can just have two proofs and verify both with the same inputs, much easier.
Which is cool. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So let's talk a little bit more about the origin story of, well, first zkChess and then realizing that it could be
Mhm.
applied to anything, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So your project at the beginning just came from a shit post by Sylv of like, oh, we need to do play by email chess.
Yeah, I mean, Sylv and I, we've been knowing each other for like a long time, and we've been always talking about zk even before both of us were on zk, like
Mhm.
zk apps and stuff. And at some time, I don't remember who contacted who, but we just came to talk randomly about this post, and we were like, okay, this is a good idea. Like for a fun fact, I wanted to do a zk chess when I started to do zk like some time ago. Like I wanted to do a proper zkChess engine in Circum, which is the proof system of zkEmail. But it was like super hard because you had to do
Mhm.
like because Risk Zero was not a thing, so um, it was super hard. So I gave up pretty quickly on my idea, and instead, like, so it's fun because I came back to doing zkChess in the end, in another way, which is actually way more clever, I think, than just trying to prove everything. Because, yeah, a funny thing, if I can be, like, let's say a bit technical about the way I did the chess part, is I did not prove every move of the game because I realized you don't have to prove every move. You can just prove the last two moves to make sure that the whole game is valid. Because if you play a move, like let's say, yeah, I play a bad move, and I say I
Yeah.
played this bad move and it gave me this board, and then you say, okay, I played this mate on this board, then I cannot be like,
Hmm.
oh, you cheated the whole game because I just said the move before that I played this move because I signed my email with my
Right.
signature. So you just have to have the two last move to prove the entire game, which makes the game kind of stateless, actually. You don't have to prove everything.
I actually really liked the presentation that you did in the office last week, and I was very much intrigued by this. You only need to prove the last two elements, like the last two state
Yeah.
transitions, and not the entire game. And I thought it was really interesting,
Yeah,
and
I
I
can try
still
to
think that
explain.
today.
I can try to explain it a bit more again because maybe I rushed it a bit. Um,
Sure.
like, okay, with ZK email, since you give email and you sign with like your own signature every mail, then when you send an email, you basically say, okay, this board is the board I'm playing on, and I play this move on this board. So I I say that everything before was valid because
Yeah.
I sign it.
Yeah. If I'm
Yeah,
still playing, it
yeah,
means
yeah.
that I didn't see a problem.
If there were a problem, I would like, I don't know, say to the server like, hey, no, this is wrong, or something like this.
Mm.
Like I would contest it at least. I wouldn't play if the player was trying to cheat. So this is so based on that fact, you I have a checkpoint on the move I'm gonna play, on the move before the one I play. So I only need the two last move to prove it's a mate because player A will be like, okay, I play this move, I sign it, it's this board now, and player B takes this board and puts mate.
Mm.
So now the game is valid. I don't know, it's super fast, like, because the only thing my server waits is just like mails. Like I don't prove anything before the checkmate. So
Mm.
like the game is fluid, everything goes smoothly, and then at the end the server does the job. And then like when there's a checkmate, the player don't play it, so it can take time. It's fine. Like it's okay to take time. So the game is smooth, and then at the end you have the proof is computed. So I think it's quite fun. Um, yeah, so that's the thing. It was about zkChess, which is an implementation problem of the chess part, but the engine could have another implementation if people think it's not good. You should guys do it. You should guys implement other stuff with my engine, please.
All right. Okay, I have another question. When did you come across ZK email? Was it directly
Mm.
from this idea? Did you know it before?
Oh, it's hard to tell. It's been a while. I met
Okay.
Ayush, the founder of zkMail, a year ago or something like this. Yeah, I probably came across zkMail like a year ago. It was starting to get hype. zkP2P was coming. There was like Prog Crypto. Like Prog Crypto was like the big cryptographic conference in Istanbul last year, and like zkP2P were like, okay, now we are live using zk email. So I think I've heard of it before, but started to know like the team and to play with it, yeah, a year ago. So something like this.
That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, you already knew ZK email, and then so you were saying you tried to build something kind of like ZK chess a while ago, and it just didn't really work out, and then you came back to it recently, um, and you built it because now you have all the tools you need to actually build it, and those tools would be ZK email, Risk Zero, Hyli. I think you were saying Risk Zero was the one that was really missing at the time when you tried this for the first time.
Um, I think I didn't know zkML as well, but it's just the let's say the ecosystem was like completely different. Like there was no zk apps almost. Like only few projects had zk stuff, and
Mm.
so I wanted to prove the entire game instead of the last two moves because I wasn't thinking of emails. I was just trying to prove it like this. Like, so yeah, risk zero was definitely what, like if risk zero existed, like it would have taken me 2 days probably with what I wanted to do, but it would have been much worse UX actually, because you would have to have the proof computed locally and stuff, and that wouldn't have been perfect, I think. I mean, I like client-side proving, but if you have to prove every move, it's like a lot of moves, lot of proofs. It's just a
Okay.
lot of things to prove. If you have to prove everything, yeah, just a lot of computation, and the UX would be terrible because this is the point.
Understandable. Okay. Okay. And speaking of, you were saying like when you started, ZK apps just weren't a thing, and today they're kind of a thing. There's more and more of them, and provable apps, which are apps that can create, like, that can create information that can be proved, but don't necessarily generate the ZK proofs themselves. They're kind of growing, but we're not there yet. How do you see it going? Well, where do you see it going next? What do you think are the next steps really for provable apps in general?
It's very funny because we're at a time where everyone is doing infra and everyone is saying, "Oh, we need to build more apps." And then when you start to try building apps, you realize you don't have enough infra. So it's it's like it's it's a bit frustrating because we're almost there, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I think we need more projects that are actually building apps. Like we need to have smaller projects that are doing apps, and because we need more example, we need more debug. Like it's a pain to create apps right now, like debugging stuff,
Yeah.
and I don't know, just maybe like the docs are terrible. There is like a lot of knowledge that needs to, like you need to have a lot of knowledge to build real apps, I think.
Mm.
But sometimes it feels like, there is this meme about like standards that are like, oh, we have like 14 standards, we need one more to have like every standard is standardized. And it kind of feels like this sometimes with infra, because you have like, oh no, this infra created this new problem, so we need infra to solve this infra problem. So
Yeah.
this is how I see it sometimes. So you should just build stuff, and I think with Risk Zero, like SP1, like every zkVM, Jolt, which is I like Jolt. I contributed to Jolt, so I had to say it. So and with this zkVMs, like you can just like run, it's like super easy to build cool stuff. And I think also people need to change their mindset and like not put everything on chain. I think this is my controversial
Mhm.
take. Uh, because people that have the blockchain word too much in their mind, and they always want to have everything on chain and like verify the proof on chain. But if you leave this paradigm and you just like, okay, let's just verify stuff. And like, for example, Hylé is like this, right? You can just verify stuff
Yep.
on Hylé and like settle on this thing has been verified. And it just creates way much more opportunity because you can use risk zero locally, probably on servers. And
Mm.
I don't know. I just believe people need to open their mind and like use, it's fine to use like, normal databases to store stuff. Like my project uses databases that are completely web 2 and normal for, because I need to store the moves of the player to make sure they're right. And then
Yeah.
use zk proof just at the time you actually need them. I think people need to, instead of trying to put everything in a proof or everything on chain, things, it's the same problem. You just need to pinpoint the place where you need to, where is decentralization needed, where is trustlessness needed. Actually, this is the
Yeah.
point. Yeah, sorry, I
Yeah, it kind of
yeah.
comes back to the fact that you have this email server for zkChess. Like it's not decentralized and uncensorable, but it's trustless and
Yeah,
it creates
the server
proofs
cannot
that,
lie. This is the point. Like,
yeah.
if you're okay
And
with that, I mean, the moonshot would be to have the server that cannot be censored, but that would mean a lot of stuff.
no, it's definitely not easy to solve. And sometimes, yeah, it might be good to just take a step back and ask ourselves, we can't solve this problem, but is it a problem in the first place?
Yeah, it depends. Like, if you put like, if there is like a bet of like 100 million, using your zkChess project, then yeah, you probably need censorship resistance to be good, to be sure. But
Good point.
if it's to play a game between you and me, I think we're good with a centralized server.
Yeah. Yeah, zero knowledge proof is already like the top security you can get on your chess game with your friend.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's more like it allows you to play games against someone you don't trust.
Mm,
I think this is the cool point. Like, if someone you know might want to cheat, like a dishonest person, like it's cool to have zero knowledge proof that unforced. I like the idea, there is like this idea of like it cannot happen. Like you cannot cheat by definition. And like, okay, people
yeah.
won't, why people would try to cheat, but we don't know. Like there has been a chess cheating scandal just 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Also, like for this project, you could, in theory, use Hylé as settlement and then place some bet on Ethereum, and this would be a project to do.
Yeah. That would be pretty cool as well because
Mm.
then yeah, you're proving the outcome and you're not showing the entire game like is currently the case where you have to basically film the entire game or just make everything public
Yeah,
or
I mean, yeah, I think the coolest thing with Hylé that you could easily implement is using the state and doing like an ELO computation, because it would be very easy actually with
Mhm.
my system to do, because you could, like, the ELO system is probably, there is like a library in Rust that does ELO, like, I'm sure, like it's like 100%. And so you could just use that, like, okay, my actual ELO is like 1,000 and I won this game
Mhm.
against this person that has an ELO of 1,000, so I won 10 points. And you could have a proof on that with risk zero, and then you could use
Yeah.
that to put it on Hylé, like on the state of
Mm.
Hylé, to have like an Elo.
Yeah. Like verifiable elo.
Yeah, like the Elo is like, the server cannot put fake Elo. Sorry. Yeah, this is
Yeah, I
what.
don't know. I don't
Yeah,
play chess.
yeah. It's like, if you think of Chesscom or Lichess, which are the two biggest website, like
Yeah.
in theory, if I'm an administrator of Chesscom, I can put myself grandmaster and at 3,000 euro, like nothing stops me. Like it's like trust based. This is the point of like all of our industry, like being trustless. I don't think it's like the most sensitive case of where you need to have like a trustless thing, chess, but I think it's a very good example of how you can easily build a trustless app. This is the point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for
Yeah. Okay,
banks,
that's fair. It's
for
something
sure.
that we talk about at Hyli, whereas like if you're in an adversarial environment and like you don't want to share how you got somewhere, but you still need the results, but you still don't trust the results. Well, the other person doesn't trust your results, so the other way around. Having a ZK proof of the results allows you to not have to share everything with someone you
Yeah.
don't trust, but also have verifiable information that both of you can trust.
And there is a cool one that I was thinking about with Sylph today, and also like, I'm gonna spoil a bit our chat with Sylph today, but we could have like proof that you went somewhere. Like, you just
Mhm.
tap your phone, you have an NFC card, and like, okay, I went to this place, and it generates a proof. And then when you have this proof, you can like create a review that are only like, okay, this guy has scanned the cards, and you can have like all restaurants that have like all their cards and like all the reviews. Like you cannot like create fake reviews because you have to go to the place to get to put the review.
Yeah. Yeah, like those verifiable buyer um reviews on Amazon where it's like
Yeah.
Amazon checks that your account has bought the account. And you could do this on a platform that's not Amazon and just use ZK email to prove that you got an email with the invoice for, well, the bill for that object
Yeah,
before
that would
reviewing
be
it.
very cool. Like that's a
We
very good.
could finally
Yeah, I
fight
mean,
fake
yeah.
reviews
No,
efficiently.
I'm gonna talk to the ZK mail team. They will be. I think it's a good idea.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool, cool. So yeah, there is a huge design space for
Oh yeah.
ZK apps in general, ZK email more specifically. There's so much coming up. And what are you most excited about? So you talked about the fact that currently the main barrier to entry is a lack of infra, weirdly enough,
No, no,
that is
no. It's
easily
not lack of
usable.
infra.
No?
Like, it was mostly a joke, like semi joke.
Damn it.
But I think it's like lack of is like maybe examples. Like I don't know, infra in a way for sure. Like sometimes you try to do stuff and like just doesn't work, and
Mhm.
it's sad, and you have to take like I think what's the biggest barrier to entry is like it takes so long to do everything, like to debug your stuff, to like everything is super long. Actually, with Risk Zero, it's a very good point. It's very easy to set up, very easy to debug, so that's a good thing, for example. But with like Circom, took me so long to debug some stuff. It's terrible, really, really bad. And like I think we lack example. I think my code, I hope, can like help people that needs to do I don't know ZK email stuff, because for ZK email there is like the examples that are given by the team, and there is ZK P2P, and then that's it. Like there is nothing else. That's like there is no one that used the ZK email apart from that. Like maybe other ones, but I've never found them, you know? Like there is
Mm.
no one that talks about, oh, it's done, oh, it's to architecture or something. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is for me the biggest thing for someone that starts. Like,
Yeah, you'd say there's also a discoverability problem then of like maybe cool stuff exists, but you wouldn't know where to find the cool stuff.
if it's a problem for me, that's like a problem for like a lot of people, I think, because
Yeah.
I'm already pretty deep into the apps. Um,
Yeah.
so I think, yeah, discoverability, but I don't know, just we need like I don't know. It's like Solidity back in the days. Like you need more people doing new contracts and doing new stuff, and just pushing out the word that you can do cool things. One thing I told to Risk Zero once to the devil was that they should go to like Rust hackathons that are not crypto and just like
Yep.
talk to people, and like create new stuff. Like they should get out a bit of crypto and try to make people learning about ZK in a way which is not related to blockchains, because I think blockchains and ZK are very related, but at the same time, ZK can be and probably will be much bigger than blockchains. So, in my opinion, so I don't know. For me, it's like we need just more people doing stuff, and to have more people doing stuff, we need, it's a bit of like the egg and the chicken problem, you know.
Yeah, it's like social media, right? Like you need a critical mass of people doing it for you to get the incentive to do it yourself and just get into it. And if everyone starts posting and making stuff, then it's easier for you to make stuff and to talk about it.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think I would say it's like it's a good. I never really thought of what we need, because I like to read all new research and stuff. So I'm like hyped by
Mm.
stuff, and then it don't happen before years. But
Yeah. The classic of we're in the trenches, so we feel like everything is huge and really cool. And then we talk to a normal person out there, and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking
oh
about,
yeah,
dude.
this is my biggest problem. I say in general, I do math. I say to my parents and stuff. I do math. It's okay.
These days, I'm going with I'm in cybersecurity.
Fair enough. Yeah. But what I'm excited about in the ZK space, like the cryptography space, or in general.
Both.
Okay, in the cryptography space, I'm very waiting very, very impatiently to have good witness encryption stuff. But it's like quite technical, but
Okay.
it's super cool. It's the coolest thing of all cryptography. Maybe not coolest thing, but it's like you could, I will try to explain it very simply.
Please do, because now I'm
Okay,
intrigued.
okay. usually when you encrypt a message, you have like a private key and a public key, you know,
Yes.
and you encrypt it with like the public key, and you can decrypt it with the private key. And the thing is with witness encryption, the idea, like the general idea, is to be able to encrypt a message that can be only decrypted if you have a certain witness. But a witness can be like anything, let's say, like it can be a proof, for example. Like,
Okay.
so you could have, I don't know,
So
yeah,
so you'd get something that is encrypted and that you can only decrypt if you have proof that you went to an offline event.
yeah, for example, yeah, something like this. Like, yeah, what I'm saying is like the point is
Cool.
you encrypt something and it can only be decrypted by if you have access, if you can show something, like if you have a witness of something. This is witness
That
encryption. Yeah.
that sounds really cool.
It's like the thing with cryptography, it always sounds impossible to do and magical because
And
yeah.
then one day someone does it.
From what I remember, in theory, you could even encrypt with something where you don't have the answer for. So you could like you could encrypt and say like if you have a proof
Mm.
that 1 is equal to, then you can decrypt the message. Something like this, which would be impossible to
Okay.
decrypt. But
Yeah, but maybe someone in 100 years can actually prove it in a new way and they
I
can
mean,
decrypt this.
yeah, the biggest probability would be that computers would be uh, good enough to break the encryption. This is
All
what
right.
I really like in cryptography.
Yeah, that's the thing you're most excited about in cryptography.
Mm.
Yeah.
More apps, more stuff doing
Yes.
cool stuff. I think zkMail, zkP2P doing very cool stuff. Exciting to see all the stuff coming from them. I think Cursive doing very cool things as well.
Yes.
With MPC, very excited about
Yep.
MPC in real life as well. I think it will be very cool. Yeah, I think if you look at what PSC does, I think it's very cool in general. This is what I
Hmm.
would say. Like, keep an eye on like the 20 stars project on GitHub from PSC because they're doing very cool stuff.
Noted.
There's not really one link. It's like people doing their own stuff. I don't even know
Damn
all
it.
the projects. It's like you need to know the guy.
What is one app that you'd like to see and doesn't exist yet? Is there something you have in mind which may or may not be your next project?
The thing I was telling earlier with the physical cards that you can tap. Yeah, and I
Yep.
think it's like very abstractable as well. Like you could do it even for a conference, like a speaker would have a card and everyone would tap it and then they would be able to send a message and to like an anonymous message only to the like a feedback
Yeah.
on if they went there, something like this.
Yeah.
I think the infra is super cool for that. Apart from that, very excited about very ETAS, which is a paper that enables to prove that a certain image has got one specific edit, but nothing else,
Yep.
uh, which is very cool. I would like to see apps. The problem is with me, I've been so much into research stuff that sometimes it's hard for me to go back to apps because I am too
Yeah.
excited on the research papers and stuff like this and research projects. So sometimes I'm a bit disconnected. I think it's the problem for a lot of people in ZK. Um,
Yeah. Where it's like you start looking at the new tools that exist, you're like, oh, we need to do something with this.
yeah.
And not necessarily, I want to build this. What tool will allow me to build it?
Yeah, and also it's like, oh, there is this new paper. I want to implement this paper, even if it's not useful. I just want to do it because it's cool. There's like a lot of random stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I think we're gonna see. I think co-snarks are very interesting as well, but it's more infra side.
Hmm.
It's like collaborative proving. So you could have like a server. If I'm not expert, but you could have a server that does a part of the job, and you have like
Yeah.
I think you can have local proving and like combine both of them to create one snark, which would be very cool.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's already a lot of things. I'm excited in general about client side stuff and like local, like not really. in zk I'm not super excited by like zk EVMs that are running blockchain nodes and proving them. It's like it's cool, it has a good usage. I think there's a lot of money there for good reason. It's just not the thing that makes me want to wake up every day. Like it's
Yeah.
I like cool apps, trustless apps, stuff related to identity as well. I think it's very important, very cool. Identity stuff, and I'm especially excited, let's say, about identity stuff that like already exists in
Hmm.
like our space. That's why I was like, zkMail is very cool because you have the discoverability of emails. Like you just need an email to create a wallet. You just need an email to create like it's chess game. I think
Yeah.
if you start to create new identities, you kind of you lose the plot a bit, because we have already too much stuff, too much accounts, too much way to do stuff. I would say in general, if you need to create a new identity, just use an Ethereum one. It's just better.
Yeah.
uh,
That makes
I think
sense.
I'm very excited to see how we can use existing identity, either passports or Google accounts or Gmail mail address, or I don't know, any cool stuff, and you know use that as like network effect. Like everyone has a passport. Like not everyone, but a lot
Yeah.
of people has a
Yeah, you're
passport. Yeah,
completely removing the barrier to
yeah,
entry to any of this. And like same thing for zk email. Like my grandma knows how to open an email and reply to it.
a lot of stuff. I think everything linked to real life is exciting. I think TLS notary is also exciting. Stuff like this.
All right. I'm reading my questions, and I think we went through all of my questions.
Cool.
Would you like to take a couple of minutes or less or more to just mention anything you want to share, a call to action, news about yourself, your next project, thoughts about the industry, anything that you would want to talk about? This is your space.
Uh, I think I said it earlier, but I would be very excited to see zk and cryptography used in other parts than blockchains. I think blockchains are very good for money. I think are very important, but we are in a play right now. I feel like sometimes we're too focused on that, and this is what I would like just do zk proof, verify them on Hyli or locally or wherever you want, and just use zk to do stuff. And when you build stuff, be like, okay, where is it trusted? And then you can just be like, okay, maybe I can remove this trusted thing by providing a proof that we did the thing right. And I think this is
Yeah.
very powerful. Like this is all we can make everything zk. It's like anytime we use a server, we're like, okay, this server maybe it's the user trusts me a lot here. Maybe I can just like generate a small proof that I did the thing right at least, or something like this. And I think it's cool. It's like my biggest fight these days. Like you don't have to do everything on chain. You don't have to prove everything. Just do cool stuff
Yeah.
with zk.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That is something that I resonate with a lot. And I'm so glad you said it. And I think it's a good place to end the episode. Thank you so much for being our first interviewing, Matteo. Tomorrow, because, yeah, I shouldn't be saying that because then we're going to know when this was filmed. Um, you have presented in Paris at the Real World Cryptography event on October 16th, your demo and your project to a more technical audience than myself. So we will be putting the links to that in the description as well to talk a bit more about the architecture of it and the technical choices you made. It was good talking to you today.
Yeah, very
Have a really
happy.
nice day.
You too. Thank you.